How dismissive avoidants secretly keep multiple partners. The hidden truth about emotional control. It often begins quietly. You meet someone who seems calm, composed, and emotionally independent. They tell you they value freedom, space, and honesty. You think that's healthy, but over time, something feels off. Their attention feels divided, sometimes present, sometimes absent. You can't put your finger on it, but deep down, you sense it. You're not the only one. And yet, when you try to talk about it, they make you feel dramatic or insecure. This is the confusing world of the dismissive avoidant, someone who can appear loyal on the surface, but often keeps multiple emotional or romantic connections alive in secret. To understand why, you have to look beyond behavior and into their emotional wiring. The dismissive avoidant grew up in an environment where closeness meant pressure, where vulnerability wasn't safe, and where needing someone was seen as weakness. As adults, they still carry that programming. Deep intimacy triggers their childhood fear of being engulfed, judged, or abandoned. So instead of leaning into love, they create distance. And one of their most common tools is keeping multiple partners. Not necessarily in a dramatic player-type way, but as an emotional backup system. Each person provides a sense of safety from another. If one gets too close, the avoidance shifts focus to another. It's not about pleasure, it's about protection. For the dismissive avoidant, emotional connection feels like a trap. So they divide their feelings among several people to avoid dependency on any single one. It's psychological insurance. One partner may be emotionally nurturing, another may be exciting and unpredictable, and another might be more casual and undemanding. Each one fulfills a different emotional function, ensuring that no single person ever gains too much influence over their heart. This pattern isn't random, it's strategic, even if they don't consciously realize it. Keeping multiple people emotionally nearby allows them to stay in control while avoiding the terrifying vulnerability of true intimacy. This creates a strange paradox. They want connection but fear what connection demands. They crave love but only on their terms, distant, controlled, and safe. When things get too intimate with one partner, they subconsciously create friction, pull away, or suddenly get busy. Then almost seamlessly, they turn their energy toward another person who feels easier, less emotionally threatening. They might start texting an ex, rekindle a casual fling, or get close to a friend who doesn't expect much. This shifting attention isn't necessarily malicious. It's emotional self-regulation. They're soothing their fears of intimacy by scattering their attachment energy across multiple people. If you've ever dated a dismissive avoidant, you probably noticed the emotional inconsistencies. They can be deeply attentive one moment and cold the next. They can open up in private, then act indifferent in public. When you ask where you stand, they dodge the question or claim they don't like labels. They'll say things like, "I'm just taking things slow," or "I'm not sure I'm ready for commitment." These are not simple preferences. They're psychological shields. Ambiguity allows them to enjoy emotional closeness without the obligations that come with it. In their mind, as long as they didn't promise exclusivity, they're not doing anything wrong, even if their actions clearly invite emotional attachment. The truth is, many dismissive avoidants don't think of themselves as players. They genuinely see their connections as separate, compartmentalized pieces of life. One person is for fun, one is for deep talks, one is for emotional security, and in their minds, this distribution feels fair. But what they don't realize is that this pattern keeps them emotionally shallow. They can't experience true intimacy because intimacy requires emotional surrender, something they've trained themselves to avoid at all costs. When you keep multiple partners to feel safe, you end up safe but lonely. You end up desired but disconnected. It's the ultimate illusion of control. What's even more revealing is how they handle confrontation. If you ever point out the distance, the inconsistencies, or the presence of others, they'll often turn the narrative around. They might say you're overthinking, too sensitive, or reading too much into it. This gaslighting isn't always intentional. It's their defense against emotional exposure. They don't want to admit that they're dividing their attention because that would mean admitting vulnerability. They would have to face the fear behind their behavior, the fear of truly being seen and loved. So instead, they minimize, deflect, or retreat. And in doing so, they keep their emotional world fragmented. But here's the painful irony. The dismissive avoidance attempt to protect themselves through multiple connections actually deepens their loneliness. They avoid being hurt, but they also avoid being known. They chase the comfort of surface-level safety, but it leaves them unfulfilled. They might even convince themselves that they're simply not built for relationships or that no one gets them. But the truth is, the walls they built to feel safe have become their prison. They are surrounded by people who care about them, yet they remain emotionally unavailable, unable to let anyone in long enough to experience real love. And yet, somewhere deep inside, there's a quiet longing. A dismissive avoidant may not show it, but they feel it. That ache for connection, that emptiness after the excitement fades. They might look in the mirror after ending a relationship and feel a strange mixture of pride and sadness. Pride because they stayed free, sadness because freedom without intimacy eventually feels hollow. And when they lose someone who genuinely cared for them, it often takes them months or even years to realize what they lost. Not the person, but the chance to be known beyond their defenses. So why do they keep doing it? Because emotional patterns don't break easily. The dismissive avoidance habit of keeping multiple partners isn't about immorality. It's about unhealed emotional wiring. They learn that control equals safety and letting go equals pain. Their multiple connections are a reflection of their internal split. A person trying to love while avoiding love. To heal, they would need to do something terrifying. Stay with discomfort. Sit in vulnerability. Choose one connection and resist the urge to run when it gets real. Few do this willingly, but those who do often experience the first genuine intimacy of their lives. If you've been involved with a dismissive avoidant who kept multiple partners, remember, their actions are not a reflection of your worth. You didn't fail to be enough. You simply encountered someone who equates closeness with danger. You cannot compete with their fear. You can only protect your peace. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is stop chasing clarity from someone who thrives in confusion. When you step back and refuse to be one of many, you reclaim your emotional power. You show that love doesn't have to beg to be chosen. Dismissive avoidance may keep multiple partners, but it's never a story of abundance. It's a story of fear. Fear of being trapped, of losing control, of being known. And while they might appear composed and detached, deep down, they're fighting their own battle between desire and defense. They keep people around not because they want many, but because they're terrified of needing one. And until they face that fear, they'll remain surrounded by people yet deeply alone.